The sun dipped low over the French Quarter, casting long shadows across the cobblestone streets. I stood in my kitchen, chopping onions for gumbo, the familiar scent of spices wafting through the air. The rhythm of life played on repeat. My husband, Mark, sat at the dining table, engrossed in his laptop, oblivious to my presence. I could hear the distant sound of jazz drifting from a nearby bar, a stark contrast to the silence that enveloped our home. Marital monotony had settled like dust on every surface. Our conversations had dwindled to logistics, what to buy at the grocery store or when to schedule a family dinner. I glanced at Mark, his brow furrowed in concentration. He hadn't noticed that our son, Jake, was preparing to leave for college soon. The thought of an empty nest loomed over me like a gray cloud. "Dinner's almost ready," I said, my voice breaking through his focus. "Great," he replied without looking up. I turned back to my cutting board, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. It wasn't just the lack of conversation, it was the absence of connection. I missed feeling seen and valued. The loneliness crept into my bones as I stirred the pot on the stove. Later that evening, as we sat across from each other at the dinner table, Jake's absence felt palpable. He had been busy packing and preparing for this new chapter in his life. The excitement radiating from him was infectious, yet here I was, trapped in a cycle of routine with a man who barely acknowledged me. "Jake's going to miss you," Mark said suddenly, breaking into my thoughts. "Yeah," I replied softly. "I'll miss him too." Mark nodded but returned to his meal without further comment. A hollow ache settled in my chest as I pushed my food around on my plate. The thought of Jake leaving felt like losing a part of myself, a part that had kept me connected to something vibrant and alive. After dinner, I found myself wandering into the living room where Jake's best friend, Alex, lounged on our couch with a video game controller in hand. He was still around while Jake packed up his things. He'd always been like another son to us. His laughter filled the room as he played against Jake online or talked about their summer plans. "Hey, Mrs. Thompson. Want to join?" Alex called out with an inviting grin. I hesitated but smiled back at him. "No thanks. Just enjoying some peace and quiet." The truth was far more complicated than that simple response allowed for. As I watched him play and laugh with Jake over video chat, something stirred within me, a longing for connection that felt both thrilling and terrifying. Days passed quickly as preparations for Jake's departure consumed us all. The night before he left for college arrived too soon. We hosted a small farewell gathering for him and his friends in our backyard under strings of twinkling lights adorned with colorful lanterns swaying gently in the warm breeze. Laughter echoed around us as friends shared stories and memories while sipping cold drinks from plastic cups adorned with local beer logos, their youthful energy infectious against my backdrop of uncertainty. Mark chatted amiably with other parents while I floated between conversations feeling more like an observer than a participant. As midnight approached and guests began to trickle out one by one, Alex lingered behind to help clean up alongside me while Jake said goodbye to his friends outside. "You didn't have to stay," I said lightly as we stacked empty cups together. "It's no trouble," he replied easily. "Besides, it's nice hanging out with you." A spark flickered between us, an unspoken connection that made my heart race slightly faster than it should have at this moment. We shared stories about Jake growing up. Laughter bubbled up unexpectedly between us as we reminisced about awkward moments during family dinners or school events where we were all present together. When Alex leaned closer while recounting a particularly funny story about Jake's childhood antics involving mud pies and garden gnomes, his breath warm against my skin, I felt an unfamiliar thrill course through me like electricity crackling in the air after a summer storm. Just then, Mark stepped outside to check on us. He didn't notice anything amiss but offered Alex a friendly smile before retreating back inside again, a reminder that this moment belonged only to us two alone under starlit skies filled with possibilities yet unspoken. As we finished tidying up together under soft moonlight filtering through trees above us, a gentle breeze rustling leaves, I caught myself stealing glances at Alex when he wasn't looking. Something about him felt different tonight. More mature perhaps, or simply more aware than before, but it ignited something deep within me that had long been dormant amid daily routines filled with obligations rather than joy or excitement anymore. "I guess this is it then," Alex said finally after everything was put away, the moment hanging heavy between us now laced with tension neither dared name aloud yet lingered palpably nonetheless. The world around fading away until only we remained standing close together beneath stars twinkling overhead like wishes waiting patiently for someone brave enough to make them come true. "Yeah," I murmured softly as uncertainty gripped me tightly, an invisible thread pulling taut between past decisions made long ago versus what could be if only one dared take risks again after years spent playing safe roles instead. Suddenly everything shifted when our eyes met fully, an understanding passing silently between us without words needing utterance. But just then came another interruption. Jake burst back through doorways laughing loudly about some joke exchanged outside among friends still lingering nearby, but neither of us moved away from each other just yet, not wanting this moment lost among mundane realities waiting beyond backyard fences separating dreams from responsibilities awaiting return home once again. Soon enough. And yet despite knowing how wrong this all felt, it also ignited something thrilling deep inside, making every heartbeat feel alive once more even amidst uncertainty looming ahead. As night deepened around us, the weight of choices pressed heavily upon shoulders unprepared for what lay ahead. My heart raced faster, still wondering if perhaps hidden connections could lead somewhere unexpected. The festival lights danced across the streets of New Orleans, casting flickering shadows that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of jazz. I stood at the entrance of the local jazz bar, the familiar sounds wrapping around me like a warm embrace. My heart raced as I recalled the unexpected connection with my son's best friend from earlier that evening. The thrill of our brief encounter lingered in my mind, mingling with a cocktail of guilt and excitement. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with laughter and music. Couples swayed to the sultry notes, while others clinked glasses in celebration of life's fleeting moments. As I stepped further in, I spotted him, my son's friend, leaning casually against the bar, his smile bright against the dim lighting. A wave of warmth washed over me, igniting a longing I hadn't felt in years. "Hey," he greeted me, his voice smooth like the saxophone playing in the background. "Hi," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the fluttering in my chest. "I didn't expect to see you here." He shrugged, leaning closer as if sharing a secret. "Thought I'd check it out while your son's away. It feels different without him around." A hint of sadness flickered across his face, and I understood it all too well. With our children growing up and leaving home, we were both navigating uncharted waters filled with uncertainty. We shared a moment of silence before he broke it with a playful grin. "Want to dance?" he asked. I hesitated for just a moment, guilt tugged at my conscience like an anchor pulling me down into darker waters. But then I thought about how long it had been since I'd truly enjoyed myself, since anyone had made me feel alive. "Sure," I said finally. He led me onto the small dance floor where couples twirled and swayed under soft lights. As we moved together, our bodies instinctively found rhythm, and for those few minutes, everything else faded away. The mundane worries of marriage and family melted into nothingness. We laughed softly as we danced, lost in our own world amid swirling colors and melodies that echoed through time. The music enveloped us like a cocoon. It felt exhilarating yet terrifying all at once. Then came that moment, the one that shifted everything between us, when his eyes locked onto mine, and without thinking, we kissed. It was brief but electric, a spark igniting something deep within both of us that had been dormant for far too long. Before either of us could process what had just happened or what it meant for us moving forward, I felt a familiar presence behind me, a shadow looming larger than life itself. My husband had arrived. "Lila?" His voice cut through the air like ice water splashed on skin. Panic surged through me as I turned slowly to face him. There he stood, eyes narrowed with confusion and suspicion etched on his face. The joy from moments ago evaporated instantly. Reality crashed back down around us like an unwelcome wave. "What are you doing here?" he demanded sharply. "I had just wanted to enjoy some music," I stammered, desperately trying to mask my guilt beneath an innocent facade. His gaze shifted between me and my son's friend, a silent accusation hanging heavy in the air between us. "You're supposed to be home." "I came out for a little while," I replied defensively but regrettably aware that my words sounded weak even to my own ears. My son's friend shifted uncomfortably beside me. Tension crackled like electricity in the air as we both realized how precarious our situation had become. "You should come home now." My husband's tone brooked no argument as he took hold of my arm firmly but not roughly, a reminder that this was still his territory. As we walked out together into the night, the music fading behind us, I felt torn between two worlds, one filled with safety but lacking passion, another pulsing with excitement yet fraught with danger. The drive home passed in silence except for the occasional hum of streetlights illuminating darkened streets, each passing shadow whispering secrets about choices made and paths taken or avoided altogether. Once inside our house, its walls closing around me, I could feel anxiety tightening its grip on my chest like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave. My husband retreated into silence while I stood frozen by the door. Thoughts raced through my mind like wild horses galloping through fields unrestrained by fences or boundaries. Just then, my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, a sudden intrusion into this already tense atmosphere. Picking it up hesitantly revealed a message from an unknown number. "Meet me where it all began." My heart sank into my stomach as unease settled over me once more, a chill creeping down my spine as if someone were watching from afar, waiting patiently for secrets to unravel themselves under scrutiny's gaze. "What is it?" My husband's voice broke through my thoughts suddenly, his eyes narrowed suspiciously at seeing me clutching my phone tightly as if guarding some precious secret only meant for myself alone. "It's nothing," I managed to say too quickly, too defensively, but doubt lingered between us like fog refusing to lift even under bright sunlight's glare outside our windows. "Lila," he stepped closer now. Concern mixed with frustration etched across his features as he searched for answers hidden behind walls carefully constructed over years spent together navigating life side by side without ever truly connecting anymore beyond mere obligation or routine. Familiarity built upon shared history rather than genuine intimacy forged anew within each passing day filled instead by mundane tasks completed dutifully without thought given toward desires left unmet along way. Leading toward deeper understanding sought after long ago forgotten amidst chaos surrounding everyday life lived fully only when faced head-on rather than avoided altogether due fear stemming from vulnerability revealed too openly perhaps leading toward heartbreak inevitable regardless outcome chosen ultimately based upon choices made today instead tomorrow left uncertain still lingering heavy upon hearts burdened beneath weight carried forward ever since first step taken down path chosen long ago. The tension hung thick between us, the air crackling with unsaid words left unspoken yet screaming louder than anything uttered aloud ever could hope achieve bringing forth clarity amidst confusion swirling round endlessly without resolution found anywhere nearby anytime soon enough either way, ultimately leading toward decisions needing made soon enough before consequences spiral further downward beyond control entirely. The cafe bustled with life, the aroma of beignets and freshly brewed coffee filling the air. I sat at a small table tucked in the corner, my heart racing as I waited for him to arrive. The vibrant chatter around me faded into a dull hum, my thoughts consumed by the last few days, a whirlwind of emotions I could hardly keep straight. When he entered, a wave of warmth washed over me. His presence lit up the room in a way that made everything else seem insignificant. He spotted me instantly, a smile breaking across his face that sent butterflies fluttering in my stomach. As he approached, I fought to quell the rising tide of anxiety, every moment spent together felt like walking a tightrope strung high above an abyss. "Hey," he said casually as he slid into the chair across from me. "How have you been?" I offered a weak smile, unsure how to articulate the tumult within me. "Busy," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "You know how it is." He nodded, but his eyes searched mine for something deeper, an understanding that lay just beneath the surface. It was unsettling and exhilarating all at once. "I miss hanging out with you," he said softly, leaning forward slightly. The intimacy of his words wrapped around me like a warm blanket on a chilly New Orleans evening. "I miss it too," I admitted, feeling vulnerable under his gaze. The truth hung between us like an unspoken promise. Our connection had grown in ways I hadn't fully acknowledged until now. Our conversation flowed easily at first, touching on mundane topics, school, friends, and plans for the future, but the underlying tension remained palpable. Each laugh we shared felt charged with unexpressed feelings that were begging to be acknowledged. Then came that moment, the one where everything shifted irreversibly. He leaned closer still, and before I could process what was happening, our lips met. It was brief yet electric, a spark igniting something deep within me that had long been dormant. I pulled back quickly, heart racing as reality crashed back in around us. "We shouldn't." My voice trailed off as uncertainty flooded my mind. He looked at me with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. "Why not? We both know there's something here." The weight of his words lingered in the air between us like smoke from a fading fire. Our connection felt undeniable yet fraught with danger, a precarious balance between desire and responsibility. Just then, an old friend from my past walked in, someone I hadn't seen in years but recognized immediately. The shock of her presence sent ripples through my composure as she waved enthusiastically from across the cafe. "Isn't that Sarah?" he asked, glancing over his shoulder. "Yes," I replied slowly, my mind racing through memories of our shared history, both good and bad, and how they might complicate this moment further. As she approached our table with her trademark exuberance, I felt time slow down around us. "What are you doing here?" she exclaimed happily before her gaze shifted to him. "Oh. You must be." "Yeah," he interrupted smoothly, standing up to shake her hand while shooting me a knowing look that made my heart skip another beat. The conversation turned casual. They exchanged pleasantries while I struggled to regain my footing amidst this unexpected reunion. Sarah's laughter filled the air like music, a reminder of carefree days gone by, but it only amplified my internal conflict. Eventually, she turned her attention back to me with curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "So what's new? You look different." I hesitated for a moment before responding. How could I explain this transformation without revealing too much? "Just trying to find some excitement," I said lightly. Her brow arched knowingly as if she sensed there was more beneath my words than met the eye but chose not to press further, for now. As she chatted away about mutual acquaintances and shared memories from our youth, I found myself stealing glances at him when Sarah's back was turned. The way he listened intently and smiled at her stories made something stir inside me again. But then reality crashed back in once more when she casually mentioned seeing my husband earlier that week at an event downtown, a detail that sent chills down my spine as dread settled heavily upon my shoulders like an unwelcome cloak. "You should come out more often," Sarah said brightly before finally excusing herself to grab a drink from the counter nearby. As soon as she walked away, tension returned between us like an electric current sparking anew, each heartbeat echoing louder than before as we both processed what had just happened. Our moment interrupted by someone who knew nothing about what lay beneath our surface interactions but somehow felt pivotal nonetheless. "I didn't expect her," he murmured quietly after taking a sip from his cup, his voice barely above a whisper yet filled with urgency that matched mine perfectly amidst this chaos swirling around us now more than ever before. I nodded slowly but couldn't find words immediately, instead feeling something shift inside once again, as if every choice made thus far led us here, to this precarious juncture where everything could change forever depending on what happened next. Just then, my fingers brushed against something tucked away in my bag. A note hidden beneath layers of receipts and forgotten lists left behind during hurried moments spent rushing through life lately without thought given toward desires left unmet, a long way leading toward deeper understanding sought after long ago forgotten amidst chaos surrounding everyday life lived fully only when faced head-on rather than avoided altogether, due fear stemming from vulnerability revealed too openly perhaps, leading toward heartbreak inevitable regardless outcome chosen ultimately based upon choices made today, instead tomorrow left uncertain, still lingering heavy upon hearts burdened beneath weight carried forward ever since first step taken down path chosen long ago. I pulled out the note cautiously, my heart pounding against my chest as dread pooled within me upon reading it. I know what you're doing. A chill swept through me like ice water coursing through veins long since warmed by passion ignited anew despite all odds stacked against us both, now looming larger than life itself, threatening everything built until this very moment, where decisions needing made soon enough before consequences spiral further downward beyond control entirely. What is it? He asked suddenly, noticing change sweep across features, instantly betraying thoughts swirling within mind, caught off guard somehow despite knowing full well risks involved whenever choosing step outside boundaries set forth long ago. It's nothing, I lied hastily, folding note back up again, shoving deep down into depths where secrets buried never meant see light day again, especially not now when stakes couldn't possibly higher than they already were. But even as those words slipped past lips heavy laden with uncertainty, lingering doubt persisted, gnawing endlessly away at resolve, keeping fragile facade intact while inside raging storm brewed, threatening unleash chaos beyond comprehension if allowed escape confines, held tightly bound together thus far. The air in the house felt thick with unspoken words as I stood in the kitchen, my hands idly washing dishes. The rhythmic sound of water splashing against porcelain was almost soothing, yet it couldn't drown out the tension that had settled over the household. My husband had returned home late last night after a long business trip, his presence a stark reminder of everything I was trying to escape. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly noon, and my son had left for college just days before. The house felt empty without him, but it also felt like a cage. The absence of his laughter and youthful energy left me feeling more isolated than ever, even as I stood next to my husband, who was engrossed in his phone at the dining table. "Did you get a chance to call Mark?" I asked casually, trying to break through the silence that enveloped us. He looked up briefly, annoyance flickering across his face. "Not now, Claire. I have work to do." That dismissive tone stung more than I cared to admit. It was always about work, his career consumed him, leaving little room for anything else. I turned back to the sink, focusing on the task at hand while my mind drifted to thoughts of Jake, the boy who had become so much more than just my son's best friend. The memory of our last encounter played on repeat in my mind, how we spent the night together when my husband was away, sharing secrets and laughter as if we were two souls unburdened by the world outside. But guilt gnawed at me like a persistent itch. I couldn't shake off the feeling that every moment we shared came with consequences I wasn't ready to face. As if sensing my turmoil, my husband suddenly spoke up again. "Claire," he said, his voice low and serious. "We need to talk about our finances." I sighed inwardly, that conversation would lead nowhere good. "Can it wait?" "I'm not in the mood right now." "No, it can't." His tone hardened slightly as he set his phone down and leaned back in his chair. "You've been distant lately." "Distant?" The word hung between us like an accusation. "What do you mean?" "I mean you're not yourself," he said sharply. "You're distracted, like your mind is somewhere else." My heart raced. He couldn't possibly know about Jake or what we had done together during those secret moments when everything felt alive again. "I'm just tired," I replied quickly, hoping to dismiss his concern. He narrowed his eyes at me but didn't press further. Instead, he returned to his phone with a sigh of resignation that echoed through our kitchen like a death knell. With each passing minute, I felt more trapped in this life, a life where love had become routine and passion lay dormant beneath layers of obligation and expectation. Later that evening, after dinner had been served and cleared away with minimal conversation exchanged between us, I found myself wandering into our living room where Jake sat on the couch engrossed in a movie streaming on my son's laptop. "Hey," he greeted me with a smile that lit up his face, a stark contrast to the shadows lurking within me. "Hey," I replied softly as I took a seat across from him. He paused the film and looked at me intently. "You okay?" "Just thinking." My voice faltered slightly as I met his gaze. Those deep brown eyes seemed to see right through me. "About what?" He leaned forward slightly as if eager for some revelation. "The usual stuff," I said vaguely while struggling against waves of emotion threatening to spill over into words better left unsaid. He nodded knowingly but didn't press further. Instead, he changed topics effortlessly back to the movie they both enjoyed watching together before everything became complicated between us. As darkness enveloped New Orleans outside our window and streetlights flickered alive along our quiet street corner like stars illuminating hidden paths ahead, my heart began thumping louder than ever before when Jake shifted closer on the couch until our knees brushed against one another's warmth radiating heat that sent shivers down my spine. Suddenly there was a loud knock at the door interrupting whatever fragile connection we were building in that moment. A reminder reality existed beyond this sanctuary we'd created amidst chaos surrounding us both. Jake glanced toward the door before looking back at me with uncertainty etched across his features. Part of me wanted desperately for him not to answer, but another part craved whatever thrill lay beyond those wooden barriers separating us from everything else waiting outside. "I'll get it," he said, finally standing up, reluctantly breaking whatever spell lingered between us moments ago as he walked toward entrance where muffled voices echoed through hallway leading away from cozy confines filled with memories made only hours earlier. A few minutes later Jake returned looking slightly bewildered but still holding on to composure necessary for facing whatever news awaited him behind closed doors earlier today when all seemed normal once again. He sat back down next to me holding something tightly within palm of hand hidden from view beneath fabric covering jeans worn comfortably against skin. "What is it?" My curiosity piqued despite myself wanting nothing more than focus solely on him rather than distractions pulling attention away from here now present moment shared together instead. His expression shifted subtly into something heavier. A weight carried within those innocent features transformed into something deeper altogether, revealing secrets long buried beneath surface where light seldom reached, untold stories waiting patiently until someone dared uncover them finally. "It's about your son," he began, cautiously hesitating, momentarily searching for right words until finally breaking silence once more, letting truth spill forth freely without hesitation anymore. My heart dropped instinctively, sensing impending doom looming overhead, casting shadows darker than night itself, enveloping every inch surrounding us both, now fully aware consequences lay ahead no matter how far down path chosen traveled. Already entwined fates, intertwined dangerously close together, risking everything built upon fragile foundations, threatening collapse any second now. "What happened?" My voice barely above whisper, barely able contain worry creeping steadily along edges, sanity hanging precariously by thread woven tightly around fragile heart, beating wildly against ribcage, yearning escape confines, keeping safe from harsh realities lurking just beyond reach, forever out grasping hands longing touch warmth once held dear. "We need talk," Jake said softly, meeting gaze unwaveringly despite fear creeping into depths unknown, lingering silently beneath surface, ready strike whenever least expected, catching unprepared, unaware, consequences inevitable awaiting everyone involved sooner or later. No matter how hard tried, avoid fate sealed long ago, written destiny unfolding slowly yet surely before eyes wide open, staring blankly ahead, lost thoughts racing frantically, searching answers never found anywhere close enough, grasp, hold tightly, never let go. And just like that, A storm brewed inside me, raging fiercely against walls built high enough to withstand anything thrown away, yet still vulnerable underneath layers carefully constructed, facade hiding true self buried deep down, hoping someday rise above ashes left behind, shattered dreams lost forever, time slipping through fingers faster than could imagine ever possible, leaving nothing behind except emptiness echoing loudly throughout silent spaces once filled, laughter, joy, memories made cherished. Moments fading quickly into oblivion, forgotten past never meant be revisited again. The air in the house had grown thick with tension, an invisible weight pressing down on my chest. Each day passed like a slow march, with every glance at my son's best friend reminding me of the choices I had made. I found myself torn between the safety of familiarity and the thrill of the unknown. The secret meetings had become a lifeline, yet they were also a source of confusion and guilt. In the quiet moments, when I was alone, memories of our time together flooded my mind, the laughter we shared over dinner, the way his eyes sparkled under the dim lights of the jazz bar. It was as if we had created our own world, separate from reality. But in that world lurked shadows of consequence, waiting to emerge. I sat at the kitchen table one afternoon, absent-mindedly stirring my coffee while staring out into the street. The vibrant colors of New Orleans were alive outside, but inside me was a storm brewing. My phone buzzed on the table, breaking through my reverie. It was him, my son's best friend. I hesitated before picking it up. "Can we talk?" he texted. I glanced toward the door, half expecting my husband to walk in any moment. "Where?" I replied cautiously. "Café du Monde? 3 p.m.? The thought of being seen sent a shiver down my spine. Yet something compelled me to agree. "Okay," I typed back. As I arrived at Café du Monde, the familiar aroma of beignet and coffee enveloped me like a comforting blanket. The bustling atmosphere felt both inviting and suffocating at once. He was already there, leaning against a wrought iron railing with an easy smile that momentarily chased away my worries. "Hey," he greeted softly as I approached. "Hey," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. We settled into our seats, surrounded by laughter and chatter from other patrons. The sun filtered through the trees overhead, casting dappled shadows on our table as we sipped our drinks in silence for a moment too long. "I've been thinking," he started hesitantly. I held my breath. This could go anywhere, toward hope or despair. "About us," he continued carefully. "About what we're doing." I nodded slowly, feeling my heart race as he spoke words that echoed in my mind but were never fully articulated before. "It's complicated," I said finally. "It doesn't have to be," he countered gently. "We could figure this out together." The sincerity in his voice tugged at something deep within me, a longing for understanding and connection that had been missing for so long. But guilt surged alongside it. After all, he was still my son's best friend. "I can't just walk away from everything," I said quietly, glancing around to ensure no one overheard us. He leaned closer across the table, his voice barely above a whisper. "But what about what we share? What about everything we've talked about?" A memory flickered back, our late-night conversations filled with dreams and regrets, moments where vulnerability cracked open barriers built over years of conformity and expectation. "We kissed," echoed in my mind like an uninvited guest crashing into this already fragile moment between us. His gaze searched mine for answers as if he could peel back layers to see inside me completely. "You know this isn't just some fling for me," he said earnestly. "I know," I replied softly, but felt fear creeping back in again like an unwelcome shadow lurking just out of sight. Suddenly aware of how precarious our situation was, the risks involved, I pulled back slightly even as desire urged me forward again into his warmth and reassurance that felt so foreign yet so right in its own way. "What if someone finds out?" My voice trembled slightly with unspoken dread as thoughts raced through my mind about consequences not just for us but for everyone involved, my husband and son foremost among them. He paused before responding thoughtfully, "We'll be careful. We can keep it hidden." But could we? The weight of secrecy loomed large over us like dark clouds threatening rain at any moment while sunlight shone brightly around us, a stark reminder that life outside continued moving forward despite our internal turmoil. Just then, something caught his attention behind me, a fleeting shadow darting past our table before disappearing into the crowd outside Café du Monde's vibrant energy pulsating around us, incessantly reminding me how much life went on beyond what we hid from view. "What was that?" he murmured distractedly before turning back toward me with concern etched across his features. A reminder that even here amidst laughter and joy danger lurked nearby, waiting patiently to strike when least expected, catching unprepared, unaware consequences inevitable, awaiting everyone involved sooner or later, no matter how hard tried, avoid fate sealed. Long ago written destiny unfolding slowly yet surely before eyes wide open, staring blankly ahead, lost thoughts racing frantically. Searching answers never found, anywhere close enough, grasp hold tightly, never let go. "I don't know," I replied uneasily, shifting focus back onto him, hoping distraction would ease tension building inside, each passing second stretching longer than necessary, weighed down by uncertainties surrounding us both now more than ever before, when truth hung heavy above heads like storm clouds ready unleash fury upon unsuspecting souls caught unaware by choices made without fully comprehending implications carried forth into lives intertwined forevermore. As we finished our drinks under watchful eyes surrounding us, oblivious to turmoil brewing beneath surface, hidden connections binding hearts, souls struggling break free from shackles holding tight against desires yearning fulfillment beyond confines set forth long ago. But fate has its own plans. Moments later, as if scripted, perfectly orchestrated drama unfurled itself right before eyes wide open, watching helplessly, unable to intervene, when suddenly loud voices erupted outside, drawing attention away from intimate conversation shared only moments prior, turning heads toward chaos unfolding nearby, revealing unexpected twist lurking just beneath surface, waiting strike when least expected, catching unprepared, unaware consequences inevitable, awaiting everyone involved. Sooner or later, no matter how hard tried, avoid fate sealed, long ago written destiny unfolding slowly yet surely before eyes wide open, staring blankly ahead, lost thoughts racing frantically, searching answers never found, anywhere close enough, grasp hold tightly, never let go. And then it happened. My husband appeared at the corner of Café du Monde, his expression unreadable but unmistakably searching for something or someone. My heart dropped as realization hit hard like lightning striking ground below, illuminating darkness surrounding everything, threatening engulf entire world within seconds, leaving nothing behind except chaos, aftermath left behind, shattered dreams lost forever, time slipping through fingers faster than could imagine ever possible, leaving nothing behind except emptiness echoing loudly throughout silent spaces once filled, laughter, joy, memories made, cherished moments fading quickly into oblivion. Forgotten past, never meant be revisited again. I stood frozen at the entrance of Café du Monde, my heart racing as I watched my husband scan the crowd. He had come here, to this place filled with memories of laughter and joy, yet now it felt like a stage set for confrontation. The beignet and coffee that once brought warmth now tasted bitter on my tongue. I could see his brow furrowed with concern, and a knot tightened in my stomach. What was he searching for? Did he suspect anything? The thought sent a chill down my spine. My mind raced back to the moments shared with my son's best friend, the stolen glances, the lingering touches. Each memory felt like a weight dragging me deeper into uncertainty. As I turned away from the cafe's entrance, I caught sight of him in the distance, my son's friend, leaning casually against a lamppost, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. He was part of this tangled web I had woven around myself, and seeing him now stirred a mix of longing and guilt. How did it come to this? A secret life hidden behind closed doors while everything else remained unchanged. I needed clarity. My phone buzzed in my pocket. An offer had arrived from work, an opportunity to relocate for a fresh start. The thought danced tantalizingly in my mind, escape from this life, from the monotony that had become suffocating. But it also meant leaving behind everything I had known, the familiar streets of New Orleans, the sounds of jazz that played like an anthem to my heartache. "Mom?" My son's voice broke through my thoughts as he approached me with a concerned expression. "Are you okay?" "Just taking in the sights," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. He nodded but didn't seem convinced. "You've been distant lately." "Life has its ups and downs," I said lightly, but his gaze bore into me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. "Is there something you want to talk about?" he pressed gently. I hesitated, weighing whether to share any part of what was happening within me, the confusion, the turmoil, but one look at his earnest face stopped me cold. He deserved better than to be burdened by my secrets. "I'm fine," I reassured him again, though it felt like a lie hanging heavy in the air between us. After our conversation faded into silence, I turned back toward Café du Monde. My husband was gone now. Perhaps he sensed something amiss and left without confronting me directly. A wave of relief washed over me momentarily before reality sank back in. The fear that he would discover everything loomed larger than before. The next few days were filled with tension as I grappled with decisions weighing heavily on my mind. My husband seemed more withdrawn than usual. Perhaps he was processing whatever suspicions lingered after our encounter at the cafe. Meanwhile, my son returned home for a weekend visit from college, a brief respite from our chaotic lives. One evening after dinner, while we cleaned up together in the kitchen, he asked casually about his best friend. "Have you seen Jake lately?" he inquired while rinsing dishes under warm water. My heart skipped at hearing his name. Jake had become both comfort and chaos in equal measure during these past months. "He's been busy with work," I replied nonchalantly but felt guilt gnawing at me like an unwelcome guest at our table. "Yeah," my son said thoughtfully as he dried his hands on a towel. "He mentioned something about taking on extra shifts." I forced myself to smile again. It felt unnatural now, a mask hiding deeper truths beneath its surface. Later that night, after tucking my son into bed, a ritual that brought comfort amidst uncertainty, I found myself wandering through our quiet home alone. The shadows danced along walls adorned with family photos, reminders of happier times when life felt uncomplicated and full of promise. As if drawn by an invisible thread pulling tighter around me each day, I found myself standing outside Jake's door just moments later, the door leading to forbidden encounters hidden behind closed walls where laughter mingled with whispered confessions late into the night. But tonight would be different. Tonight demanded resolution or closure, if only to ease this growing ache inside me that threatened everything familiar and safe. The door creaked open slightly as if inviting me inside without words spoken aloud. Yet hesitation gripped hold tightly around my chest like vines wrapping themselves around an ancient tree refusing release despite storms raging overhead outside, its branches swaying wildly against wind's fury all around them. "Hey." Jake's voice broke through silence as he appeared suddenly from within shadows cast across dimly lit hallway just beyond threshold where warmth beckoned invitingly towards unknown possibilities waiting patiently inside, waiting for us both. "We need to talk," I said firmly but softly enough not to alarm him too much, knowing how fragile emotions were these days, tangled up within each other like threads woven together creating fabric neither could escape unscathed anymore. His expression shifted slightly, concern mixed with curiosity, as he stepped closer, allowing space between us slowly dissipate until all that remained was palpable tension, thickening air surrounding us both, engulfing everything else outside, momentarily forgotten, lost somewhere far away beyond reach. "What's on your mind?" he asked quietly, searching eyes meeting mine, seeking answers, desperately needing clarity too, perhaps even more than either one could admit right then, standing there caught between worlds colliding, clashing against one another, threatening destruction unless some resolution found soon enough before time ran out, completely leaving nothing behind except echoes fading away, slowly drifting off into nothingness, lost forevermore. I received an offer to relocate for work. The words spilled out before caution could catch up with them, dragging along heavy burdens carried silently until now finally laid bare upon surface, exposed, raw, vulnerable, aching, desperately seeking understanding, acceptance, even forgiveness, maybe someday down road. Ahead, waiting patiently somewhere out there, still hidden just beyond horizon line, waiting patiently, quietly hopeful despite uncertainty looming large overhead, casting long shadows everywhere. We turned. Jake looked taken aback, momentarily caught off guard, processing what implications such news might entail, unraveling threads woven tightly together, binding lives intertwining, fatefully entwined, somehow creating tapestry, rich, vibrant colors dancing against backdrop. Stark contrast between light dark, revealing truths hidden deep within hearts yearning, desperately seek solace, comfort, understanding, connection above all else, maybe even love, if only fleeting moments shared, fleetingly passing through. Fingertips slipping away faster than could ever grasp, hold on to tightly enough, keep safe, secure, sheltered away from storms raging outside, world looming larger every single day, threatening, sweep everything away, leaving nothing behind except echoes, memories fading, quickly forgotten, forevermore. What does this mean for us? His voice trembled slightly, breaking through silence hanging thick between us, charged electricity crackling alive, igniting flames flickering brightly, illuminating darkness surrounding each heartbeat, echoing louder, stronger, resonating deeply, stirring emotions long buried beneath layers carefully constructed, armor shielding vulnerable hearts, afraid reveal true selves, lest risk losing everything built over years spent together, sometimes feeling alone amidst crowded rooms, filled faces, strangers. Never quite knowing who truly belonged anywhere anymore, instead drifting aimlessly, searching endlessly, hoping someday find way home again, where acceptance awaited patiently, no judgment passed, only love unconditional, freely given, freely received. I don't know. The truth hung heavy upon lips, trembling slightly, unsure whether speak aloud or keep silent, letting fears drown out reason, drown out hope, snuffing light flickering brightly, still shining somewhere deep within hearts yearning, connect, find solace amidst chaos swirling around, threatening, pull apart, threads binding lives entwined, tightly woven fabric, torn, frayed edges unraveling slowly, piece by piece, until nothing left but memories, scattered remnants, past haunting reminders, lost dreams fading, quietly slipping away, unnoticed, unacknowledged, never meant revisit again. In that moment, standing there facing uncertain future together, torn between two worlds colliding, crashing against one another, threatening destroy everything built upon fragile foundation, shaky ground beneath feet shifting constantly underneath weight pressing down hard. Suffocating hope, dreams, aspirations swirling endlessly above heads, lost sight, destination clear, path forward obscured by darkness looming ahead, casting shadows everywhere. We turned, blocking vision, preventing clarity, understanding needed, desperately navigate treacherous waters ahead, uncertain journey awaiting, both awaiting answers, questions lingering unanswered, hanging heavy, air charged, electricity crackling alive, igniting flames flickering brightly, illuminating darkness surrounding every heartbeat, echoing louder, stronger, resonating deeply, stirring emotions long buried beneath layers carefully constructed, armor shielding vulnerable hearts, afraid reveal true selves, lest risk losing everything built over years spent together, sometimes feeling alone amidst crowded rooms, filled faces, strangers, never quite knowing who truly belonged anywhere anymore, instead drifting aimlessly, searching endlessly, hoping someday find way home again, where acceptance awaited patiently, no judgment passed, only love unconditional, freely given, freely received. The festival lights flickered against the backdrop of the dusky New Orleans sky, casting a warm glow over the bustling streets. The air was thick with laughter, music, and the tantalizing aroma of gumbo simmering in nearby stalls. I stood at the edge of the crowd, feeling both part of this vibrant scene and profoundly disconnected from it all. My heart raced as I thought about what lay ahead. Moments ago, I had seen my husband's car parked outside our home, an unexpected sight that sent a wave of dread washing over me. He had returned early from his business trip, and I was left scrambling to maintain the fragile facade I had built around my life. The thought of him discovering my secret relationship with my son's best friend haunted me like a ghost in the shadows. As I walked through the festival, memories flooded back, of laughter shared with friends, of moments that felt alive and real. But those memories were tainted now. My heart ached for something more than just fleeting happiness. it craved genuine connection, something I hadn't felt in years. I spotted him across the square, my son's friend, Jake, his easy smile lighting up the dimming evening. He was caught up in conversation with some old acquaintances, but his eyes searched for mine amidst the throng. A jolt of warmth coursed through me as our gazes met. He seemed to understand my turmoil without a word spoken. "Hey," he said softly as he approached me, his voice barely rising above the din of revelry. "You okay?" "Just trying to figure things out," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Jake's expression shifted slightly, concern etched across his features. "You know you can talk to me about anything." I hesitated, wrestling with my thoughts. Should I confide in him about my husband's unexpected return? Would it be fair to drag him into this mess? The weight of our hidden connection hung heavily between us, a secret binding us together yet threatening to unravel everything. "I appreciate that," I said finally, glancing away as a couple danced nearby, lost in their own world. "Let's get out of here for a bit," he suggested impulsively. "I know a place where we can talk." I nodded silently and followed him through twisting alleys until we reached a quiet bar tucked away from the festival chaos, a haven where shadows mingled with soft jazz notes filtering through the air. We settled into a corner booth, away from prying eyes. As we talked about mundane things, music and favorite dishes, I felt walls begin to crumble around my heart. There was something so refreshing about being able to share these moments without pretense or obligation. But then Jake leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper as if afraid someone might overhear him confessing secrets meant only for us. "What do you want?" The question struck me like lightning. It forced me to confront everything swirling within me, the longing for passion and excitement against the reality of my life. I want to feel alive again," I admitted quietly. He studied me intently before nodding slowly as if he understood more than I could articulate. "Then let's do something about it." A moment passed where time seemed suspended between us, a heartbeat filled with unspoken possibilities lingering in the air like smoke from an extinguished candle. Then, without thinking further on consequences or implications, our lips met, softly at first but quickly igniting an urgency that had been buried deep within both of us for far too long. Reality crashed back into focus when we pulled apart abruptly, fear etched across my features as panic rose within me like bile. "What are we doing?" I whispered breathlessly. "We're being honest," Jake replied softly but firmly. But honesty came at a cost, one that weighed heavily on my conscience even as desire clashed against guilt inside me like two opposing forces battling for supremacy within my soul. "I can't keep living this double life," I confessed after an agonizing pause filled with uncertainty. "Then don't." His gaze held mine steady despite everything swirling around us, a storm brewing just beneath our surface interaction that threatened to tear apart everything familiar if unleashed fully into reality once more. In that moment, amidst jazz tunes wrapping around us like warm embraces, I made a choice, to confront whatever lay ahead rather than continue hiding behind closed doors cloaked in secrecy and shameful longing unfulfilled by anyone else except myself alone. But then came another twist. The door swung open abruptly behind us, revealing none other than my husband stepping inside, seemingly oblivious yet somehow aware enough, not just physically present but emotionally attuned enough, perhaps even sensing something amiss. He scanned the room before locking eyes directly onto mine. Shock flashed across his face, followed by confusion mingled with betrayal. All those emotions colliding violently, creating ripples throughout every fiber, coursing through each heartbeat, echoing louder, resonating deeper, stirring fears long buried beneath layers carefully constructed, armor shielding vulnerable hearts afraid reveal true selves lest risk losing everything built over years spent together. "Where have you been?" he demanded sharply, cutting through tension thickening atmosphere, suffocating every breath taken since entering this space together, now forever altered, irrevocably changed. I opened my mouth intending to speak, but no words materialized. Instead, silence enveloped us, heavy-laden burden weighing down upon shoulders, each carrying its own weighty truth hidden beneath surface appearances crafted diligently over time until now laid bare. Exposed, raw, vulnerable, aching, desperately seeking solace amidst chaos surrounding them both. Jake shifted uncomfortably beside me, unsure how best navigate treacherous waters suddenly flooding their small sanctuary, once filled laughter now transformed into battlegrounds fraught, danger lurking everywhere, threatening swallow whole lives, entwined, forever altered, irreparably shattered beyond repair perhaps. In that moment, a decision crystallized within clarity, emerged starkly, illuminating darkness surrounding every heartbeat, echoing louder, stronger, resonating deeply, stirring emotions long buried beneath layers carefully constructed, armor shielding vulnerable hearts afraid. Revealed true selves lest risk losing everything built over years spent together, sometimes feeling alone amidst crowded rooms, filled faces, strangers never quite knowing who truly belonged anywhere anymore, instead drifting aimlessly. Searching endlessly, hoping someday find way home again, where acceptance awaited patiently, no judgment passed, only love unconditional, freely given, freely received. The air in the room was thick with unspoken words, heavy with the weight of secrets. Jake sat across from me, his expression a mix of concern and understanding. I could sense his unease, mirroring my own turmoil. The decision I had made earlier felt like a double-edged sword, sharp and unforgiving. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, breaking the silence that had enveloped us. His voice was low, cautious, as if afraid to disturb the fragile balance between us. I nodded slowly, though uncertainty gnawed at my insides. My son had just left for college, and I was standing on the precipice of change. "I can't keep living a lie," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "I need to be honest with myself, and with everyone else." Jake shifted in his seat, his gaze dropping to the floor as if searching for answers in the worn wooden boards beneath us. "But what about everything? Your marriage? Your son?" Those words hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. "My marriage has been over for years," I admitted softly, feeling a mix of relief and dread wash over me. "It's just that we've been so good at pretending." His eyes met mine again, filled with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. "And what about me? What do we do now?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of our uncharted territory pressing down on us both. "We figure it out together," I said finally. The thought of forging a new path with him felt both exhilarating and terrifying. As if sensing my hesitation, Jake reached across the table and took my hand gently in his own. His touch ignited something within me, a spark that reminded me of all those moments we had shared since my son first introduced us years ago. "I want to be here for you," he said earnestly. "But we have to be careful." "Careful," I echoed, knowing all too well how precarious our situation was. The thought of being discovered loomed like a dark shadow over our every interaction. Suddenly, the sound of keys jingling at the door shattered our moment of connection. Panic surged through me as I pulled away from Jake's grasp instinctively just as my husband entered the room. "Hey! You too," he called cheerfully, oblivious to the tension hanging thickly in the air between us. "Hi," I managed to say, forcing a smile that felt like a mask over my true feelings. My heart raced as I glanced at Jake. He wore an expression that mirrored my own anxiety. My husband walked further into the room, setting his bag down on the kitchen counter before turning to face us both with curiosity etched on his face. "What were you two up to?" "Just talking," I replied quickly, trying to sound casual while suppressing any hint of guilt that threatened to spill out. "About what?" he pressed further. Jake cleared his throat awkwardly before answering. "Just catching up on old times." His tone was light but contained an undercurrent of tension that only heightened my unease. My husband nodded slowly but didn't seem convinced. He glanced between us again before moving toward the fridge for a drink, his back turned toward us momentarily offering a brief reprieve from scrutiny. As soon as he was distracted enough by rummaging through bottles and cans, Jake leaned closer again and whispered urgently, "What do we do now?" "I don't know," I replied under my breath, just loud enough for him to hear. My mind raced with possibilities, each one more daunting than the last. The sound of laughter erupted from outside as neighbors celebrated another festival night in New Orleans, a reminder of life continuing around us while we stood still in our tangled web of choices and consequences. My husband returned holding a beer can aloft like it was some sort of trophy before settling back onto a chair across from us, casually sipping away at life's simple pleasures, unaware of how precariously close we were dancing along an edge that could crumble beneath our feet at any moment. "What are you guys laughing about?" he asked, suddenly breaking through my thoughts once more. Suspicion crept into his voice like an unwelcome guest crashing an intimate gathering. "It's nothing really," Jake replied too quickly, his attempt at nonchalance only amplifying the tension simmering beneath our surface interactions. I took another deep breath, trying desperately not let panic take hold completely. I needed clarity amidst this chaos swirling around me, threatening to consume everything I held dear, including fragile connections formed through shared moments, both sweetened by laughter yet fraught with danger lurking behind every glance exchanged between Jake and myself. Then it hit me, a realization so stark it sent chills racing down my spine. What if he found out about our secret? What if this facade crumbled before my very eyes? Just then, the doorbell rang unexpectedly, causing all three of us to freeze momentarily, caught off guard by its sudden intrusion into our already complicated lives filled with hidden truths waiting patiently for their moment in spotlight. "I'll get it," my husband exclaimed, rising quickly from his chair heading towards front door, leaving me alone with Jake, who wore an expression teetering between anxiety and anticipation, mirroring all those feelings swirling inside me, threatening spill forth uncontrollably. As footsteps echoed through hallways leading toward entrance where reality awaited beyond threshold, my heart raced louder than ever, pounding against ribs, echoing urgency coursing through veins, reminding me how fragile everything truly was. The life built around pretense now hanging by threads, unraveling, slowly revealing truths long buried beneath layers, carefully crafted lies. The door swung open, revealing unexpected guests standing outside, silhouetted against dim porch lights, casting shadows deeper than any secret held within walls surrounding us. Two figures emerged, greeted warmly by husband, whose laughter rang out bright, contrasting darkness gathering around corners where uncertainty loomed large, ready strike when least expected. In that moment, a choice crystallized within clarity, emerged starkly, illuminating darkness surrounding every heartbeat, echoing louder, stronger, resonating deeply, stirring emotions long buried beneath layers carefully constructed, armor shielding vulnerable hearts afraid reveal true selves lest risk losing everything built over years spent together, sometimes feeling alone amidst crowded rooms, filled faces, strangers never quite knowing who truly belonged anywhere anymore, instead drifting aimlessly, searching endlessly, hoping someday find way home again where acceptance awaited patiently, no judgment passed, only love unconditional, freely given, freely received. And yet here stood reality knocking loudly, demanding attention, drawing nearer, threatening shatter illusions once held dear, inviting chaos into lives entwined forever, altered, irreparably shattered beyond repair perhaps.